بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Now, there is one more thing we'll see inside the data plane VXLAN. We have something called VNI. VNI stands for Virtual Network Identifier. So this virtual network identifier, you can compare this with the same concept of the VLAN. So instead of VLAN, we are just trying to replace that with a VNI. So it refers to the VLAN ID, same like VLAN ID identifier. We have a VLAN 10 and the VLAN 20, VLAN 30. Similar way, we have a VNI 100, 200, 300. Like that, we can create VNIs. So what is the purpose? It serves as a unique ID, which means every network segment you create, and this network segment, if I say VN, it belongs to the VNI 100 and needs to communicate with other devices within the same VNI. So there must be a unique ID has to be given. So that's kind of an isolation. So whatever the VLAN or whatever the virtual segment we create, that has to be given a unique ID, just like VLAN ID. So we call this as a VNI ID or VNI. Simply we call it as a VNI, a virtual network identifier. Now, just like the VLAN to VLAN communication is not possible, like we have a VLAN 10 and the VLAN 20, by default, there is no VLAN to VLAN communication. Similar way, we also create a VNI. Let's say I'm creating a VNI 100 to 200, and similar to the VLANs, devices with the different VNIs cannot communicate at the layer 2. So at the layer 2, they cannot communicate. Of course, if you want to communicate, you can do inter-VNI communication, just like we do inter-VLAN routing, similar to that one. And what is this VNI? VNI is a 24-bit number, which is not as simple. Like in the VLAN, it's a 12-bit, supports up to 4,000 VLANs. Similar way, we have a 24-bit number, which supports up to 16 million VNIs we can create. As we already discussed the VLAN drawbacks in the previous sections, basically the scalability wise, it doesn't support, and the VLAN's concept completely works at the layer 2, but here we'll be using the layer 3 technology. Okay, so if we compare, again, already we discussed the differences. So if you compare the VLAN ID and the VNI, basically both are, in terms of identification, identifying the network segment, they both are used. Whether it is a VNI or the VLAN ID, they both are used for the same thing. But again, that here also the devices within the VLAN segment, which is having the common VNI, like the devices which is having the common VNI can share the information. So here the VNI act as a tag or the label here, just like the VLAN ID, which is going to differentiate from one segment to another segment. Again, as I said, the different devices within the different VXLAN segments with the different VNIs will be isolated, separated from each other. Like if I'm using any VNI with this number, the VNI with this number will not be able to communicate, similar to the concept of the VRF or similar to the concept of the VLANs. The isolation is very important in terms of network security, performance, and the management purposes.